Welcome to This Explainer. Let's get right into it. Today, we're pulling off a literal heist. But, we're not robbing a bank or anything. We're pulling off a heist against your very own biology. We're going to unlock the exact cheat codes you need to achieve a perfect memory, turning studying from this agonizing, painful grind into an absolute breeze. Get this. Rereading your notes makes you feel like you're actually learning. It's a total lie. Yeah, it's a pretty jarring truth, right? But honestly, it completely validates that deep frustration you've probably felt a million times. I mean, you spend hours highlighting, underlining, and rereading your notes for the fifth time, and you feel totally drained, convinced you grinded so hard. And then, 3 days later, you're staring at the exam and you completely blink. You probably think your memory is just trash, but as our source material reveals, you are absolutely not broken. The reason this happens is purely evolutionary. For literally 2 million years, our brains were designed to do one primary thing: keep us alive by saving glucose. Thinking burns glucose, right? And when food was scarce back in the day, wasting energy was basically a death wish. So your caveman brain is hardwired to delete any information that isn't a literal, immediate life or death emergency. The problem here? Well, your exam 3 weeks from now doesn't exactly register as an emergency to your biology. To your brain, it just looks like a massive, pointless waste of battery. That is exactly why fighting your biology with pure willpower feels so impossibly hard. So here's the deal. We have to stop fighting and start finessing. We're going to use the Cortex Override method. This is a 5-system heist blueprint derived directly from our source material to reverse engineer your brain so it learns completely on autopilot. We're going to cover 1, bypassing the bouncer, 2, the active recall machete, 3, stopping the cleanup crew, 4, stress inoculation, and 5, the sleep sweep. First up, bypassing the bouncer. Deep inside your brain, there's this little almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. I want you to think of it as your mind's personal, highly aggressive bouncer. Its one and only job is to spot threats and sound the alarm. So, when you sit down and stare at a massive 40-page stack of notes, that bouncer doesn't see studying. No, it sees a huge, overwhelming threat. So what does it do? It smashes the panic button and floods your system with cortisol, the stress hormone. And that instantly makes you want to procrastinate and just run away. To bypass this bouncer, you need to use the law of minimal activation, 30 seconds. Basically, you trick your brain. You commit to just opening the book and reading one single line for exactly 30 seconds. That's it. It's a task so unbelievably small that it completely bypasses the amygdala's alarm system. But within those 30 seconds, your dopamine kicks in and hooks you. Suddenly, the friction is gone, and boom, you've successfully snuck past the security guard. Step 2. The active recall machete. Okay, picture everything you currently know as a safe clearing in a dark jungle, and the new information you need to learn is way over on the far side. When you just reread notes, you're essentially taking a helicopter view over that jungle. You see the trees, it all looks super familiar, and you feel really smart. But guys, it's a total illusion of competence. You never actually touch the ground. Active recall, on the other hand, is like grabbing a machete and forcing yourself to physically hack out a path by hand. It's asking yourself, wait, what did I just read, without looking back at the page? To actually pull this off, you follow these exact steps. First, close the book. Second, grab a totally blank piece of paper. Third, brain dump absolutely everything you can remember. And fourth, open your notes back up and compare them to see what you missed. Now, I'm not going to lie, doing this feels terrible at first. You're going to feel slow, you'll feel clunky, and you will definitely blank. But that uncomfortable physical struggle, that is the literal proof of your brain leveling up. You're physically building new neural pathways. You basically have to choose the method that feels bad to actually get the result that is good.
Moving on to step 3, stopping the cleanup crew.
Every single night while you sleep, a biological cleanup crew called synaptic pruning goes to work. They basically walk through all those mental pathways you opened up during the day, and if a path doesn't look important to them, they snip it. They just delete it to save energy. That is exactly why you can study so hard on a Monday and completely blank by Thursday. It is not a bad memory, it's literally just your scheduled biological maintenance. To stop this crew from wrecking your hard work, you have to use a spaced repetition schedule. You review the information the next day, then 3 days later, then in 1 week, and then finally in 1 month. Every single time you walk down that mental path, you're sending a loud biological signal to the cleanup crew saying, hey, we actually use this, leave it alone. And the best part? It only takes about 5 minutes a review, instead of a brutal, soul-crushing 3-hour cram session the night before the test. And here's where it gets really cool. Every time you use spaced repetition, your brain coats that pathway in a substance called myelin. Myelin is essentially brain paving material. It takes that bumpy mental dirt road you carved with your machete and paves it into a sleek superhighway where signals travel 100 times faster. Myelinated information is that stuff you just instantly know, without even having to think about it. Step 4. Stress inoculation. Inside your brain, there's this little seahorse-shaped structure called the hippocampus. I want you to think of the hippocampus as a librarian, and their job is to fetch your memories from the shelves. Well, there's a very precise chemical reason you look at the first question on a test and go totally blank. The stress of the exam floods the whole zone with cortisol, and your poor librarian essentially freezes in panic. The books are right there on the shelves, the information is all there, but the librarian is completely paralyzed by the fire alarm. The massive mistake we all make is doing what I call chill studying. You know, vibing to music, taking breaks, absolutely no timer. But then we take the actual exam in panic testing mode. You're practicing in this incredibly comfortable environment, but you're competing in a highly stressful one. That's literally like practicing your swimming technique on dry land and acting totally shocked when you start drowning in the water. You need to vaccinate your librarian through stress inoculation. The rule here is incredibly simple. Practice how you play. At least once per unit, set a timer and take a strict, timed practice test with 0 notes, no phone, and no breaks. Just let it feel uncomfortable. You're basically hitting your brain with controlled microdoses of test pressure. That way, by the time the actual exam rolls around, your brain realizes the pressure isn't a threat at all, and the real exam is going to feel like just a routine Tuesday afternoon. Finally, step 5, the sleep sweep. This step utilizes your glymphatic system, which literally scrubs your brain clean while you rest. To let this system do its job, there are 3 non-negotiable rules. 1. Get 7 to 9 hours of deep sleep. 2. No screens or blue light before bed, because that tricks your brain into thinking it's still daytime and completely delays the cleanup. And 3. Absolutely 0 all-nighters. Staying up late delays that glymphatic system and actually robs you of the very neural pathways you spent all day carving out. Just don't do it. Putting it all together, the 1% protocol. So here is your daily execution summary. You start with that 30-second minimal activation to trick the bouncer. Then you use the active recall brain dump to carve out the path. You spend just 5 minutes reviewing yesterday's material to stop the cleanup crew. You take a timed practice test to vaccinate the librarian. And you cap it all off with deep sleep to let the glymphatic truck clean up. Guys, this isn't magic. It is simply your biology finally working in your favor. Now, our source creator has a very specific mission with all of this, to build an exclusive community of high performers who don't just work hard, but work smart. It's basically a VIP group for people who are actually going to implement these neuroscience protocols. If you want to claim your spot in that community and prove you're an action taker, go ahead and drop the batch word neuron in the comments of the source material. So I'll leave you with this question to ask yourself. Are you going to stay comfortable with the 99%, just rereading your notes, constantly fighting your biology, and panicking on test day? Or are you actually ready to use these cheat codes to build the 1%? Your brain has been playing against you your entire life. Starting today, it's time to make it play for you. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.